Hello. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome to today's chat, today's workshop. We are here talking about dream business, talking about what it means to create a magical avatar, an archetype of self that is here building from our dreams. I want to share another story with you today, just to start off, about the state of my heart and the push pull relationship that I have had with the notion of what it means to be heart led. So, for years, when I first started attempting to heal myself from the version of me that I didn't recognize anymore after I had hustled and pushed and been really career focused. So if you missed the share in my story about what it meant for me to believe in magic, you can go back and watch that one. But I get really deep into that pivot point that happened in my life when I decided that I wasn't going to live the way that I was going to live anymore. And the catalyst, the wake-up call, the awareness point that struck me was emotion. So the massive amount of what I would call like inner decay. So that's what I felt like when I sat with myself and realized that my life felt like misery. It's actually because I was feeling misery in my body. Like, I've said this before, that if misery had a feeling, if misery had a frequency, if misery and death and inner dying had a tone, it was living inside of me at that time when I got to the end of the road in my life and had to do something to change it. And that kind of depression and feeling of despair, right? So misery and despair. If misery and despair had a feeling, it lived in every cell of my body. And what came after that was a whole landscape, an entire landscape of undefined, unrealized, unrecognized emotion. And it bubbled up inside of me like a volcano. Literally, like it was like rage. Just lavaing itself up from me. And I had a moment during these times, and I spent a little while like cooking in the cauldron of my misery in order to get to the point where I was ready to change it. But I had a moment that I will never forget where I was driving down the road and I was so overcome with rage. And it came to me out of the blue. I was, I think, probably on my way to work. Doing the commute, San Francisco, about to cross the bridge, and I just felt like I wanted to pull my car over and beat somebody up. Just anybody, any random person for no reason. And I am not a person who I would say is like emotionally unhinged. And when I had this experience, I remember thinking like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like, what is this? Where does this come from? Of course, I'm not like the victim of my emotional impulses. So it wasn't anything that I actually thought about doing. It was just one of those moments where you're like, hold on, full stop. Where did this come from? I need to do something about this. And so the step that I took after that was to start understanding energy and start doing inner belief work. So instead of going and seeing a therapist, which I had already done and tried many different times, I found somebody who was an alternative therapist, somebody who was a licensed therapist but also did different forms of energetic healing and led circles and, groups of people who were working through this in addition to her practice. And what I realized, what I experienced, was that there was an entire landscape of emotion that I wasn't paying attention to, that I didn't know where to put in my life, and I didn't know what to do about. And it was coming up in anger, because that is the emotion that I felt the most comfortable with to protect myself, to protect my heart. And people would always tell me in these types of environments, in these circles, in these spiritual containers, that what I really needed was to live from my heart, to feel my heart. And until I, was able to master that, until I kind of integrated that, I was always going to be stuck in my head. And there were many years when I made this I let it make me feel wrong. I allowed these types of statements to let me feel lost and inadequate in the way that my heart expresses itself through joy, authenticity, and connection. And what I realized after many, many years of chewing on this sensation inside of myself, chewing on this awareness around how other people define love, how other people define a state of full expression of love, is that for me, at the end of the day, living from my heart means that I am allowing myself to be fully real. It does not, for me, necessarily mean that I am bubbly or, sitting in meditation and letting the waves of gratitude and magic wash over me. It does not necessarily mean that I am connecting with other people and looking at them in the eyes in an intimacy, 5-day tantric workshop and saying, all is love, all is love. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I have always been a bit irritated by statements like all is love, right? Not that I don't understand that in myself now after studying it and engaging with it for many years, but more that I feel like people have an idea of what it means to be heart-led, and a lot of it is connected to our external sort of transactional definition of what love is. So for me, love means the fabric of reality. It literally is the way that the interconnective weavings of life connect all of reality to each other through that divine inner spark. And I have done a lot of work with clients over the years, leading them through their heart space. In fact, I just had a session with a client yesterday inside of a Soul Compass session, and found ourselves in that heart space, which I have many times in my own inner connection, in a state of like it being an abandoned space, it being a bit of a wretched, dark space, an ignored place, a place that we haven't tended to, a place where our little child sits inside and feels quite rejected, unseen, and unheld. And I have done so much work as well over the years, finding ways to really feel into self-support so that heart-led space can be a beautiful garden, so that we can allow ourselves to open and feel nurtured and to learn to flow. So what I want to share with you today in our Dream Business Day 2 is the feeling of what it means to catch a vibe. So the heart catches vibes. The heart can feel the authenticity of others, the emotion of others, the stories that others have to tell us. It can feel the potential. It can feel the sparkle. It can feel that fabric of reality, as per my definition of love. It can feel the mathematical equation of the universe connecting to itself and creating and creating and creating, and the potential that is there, free of blame, shame, and judgment. And so when we truly love other people, when we truly love ourselves, we find ourselves in places where just our presence is enough. And what has always frustrated me about the notion of trying or efforting to be heart-led versus being present, or using that distinction as a way to make yourself wrong, is that it feels very incongruent with the truth of that state in and of itself. Because if you connect into that little child that has been told that exactly how she feels, how she wants to do things, the way that she sees the world, the way that she experiences her magic, if you feel into that inner state of purity that started to shield and cover and tamp down and become quieter and reject herself and cower away, it truly is built around those definitions that don't allow you access to the all. And so catching a vibe when it comes to your dream business is the way that you are going to connect with others and bring others into your world. So catching a vibe attracts people who are aligned. But once you catch a vibe, so I'll give you an example of this. I have created containers over the years and group journey experiences and programs that were purely built on vibes. In fact, most of my business for the first several years were built on vibes. So what do I mean by this? You know, the vibration of an image that I created through art that I was really excited with, that I shared and was part of a program. The codes that I created, sigils, right? Items, visual items to kind of scry with, to sit with, to be with, to allow you to have your own experience of vibes. Reality free of definition. Essence free of limitation. Magic undefined. Okay? So I know this realm very, very, very well. In fact, the vibe is what built my business for years. But the thing that you need to know about catching a vibe is, even if you've caught it, and you can kind of see this like a little bit of stardust floating through your beautiful cosmic galaxy, and you grab it, in order for you to take it in order for it to be a part of you, in order to be a star catcher, a dream walker, one who lives from the sparkly in between, you have to actually live the vibe. And living the vibe comes down to embodiment. And it also is extremely important when you're living a vibe that you are sharing that with others. And so that gets to be a project of magic active in your life. It gets to be the way that you continue to create regenerative energy in your business, in your marketing, and in your connections with others. But if you only catch a vibe and don't live a vibe, you don't market the vibe, then you're losing the potential to create cumulative energy and momentum in your business. So there's two parts to the puzzle here. the first part is to be truly, truly courageous in your commitment to allowing yourself to just be fully, fully you. And the second part, of course, is letting go of what isn't. So for me, what I understand about living from my heart means that I'm willing to let go and to hold the line, to fight for what is important to me, to let go of what is not, to support myself, and to, in that process, eventually release more and more and more that needs to go so that I can create the space to be somebody who is living my magic. I don't think it needs to look a certain way. And I think it's more about that internal fullness, that full multidimensional self, and the joy that comes from your true inner magic that gives us that spark that allows us to build the momentum to begin with. And I want to say that the combination of knowing how to be this in your life is a momentum that creates energy that moves other people. So if you have ever heard someone tell their story that you can just feel in your bones. Just today, I read a beautiful article from somebody who had shared a personal story about something that they went through in their business. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I could have written that. I know that feeling so much. And part of that share was her letting herself be vulnerable enough to expose perhaps an aspect of her that she was holding and cowering inside of. It was a really difficult situation that had happened to her. And I also went through a very difficult situation. And so I know what it felt like in me. And when I read that, it inspired me because I thought to myself, what a beautiful share, what a service to others, what a way of showing up and living that fully confident, unapologetic self that knows how to hold herself and also knows how to share from the heart. And the fact is that if you want to understand an opportunity for yourself in your business, the fastest funnel energetically is energy. The fastest funnel to attraction is energy. It's your resonance factor. It's your ability to connect to that fabric, that interwoven fabric that I talked about, which is my definition of love. So it's not about you being like dripping with sugary sweet energy. In fact, oftentimes when we feel the most loved and supported in our life is when somebody is willing to connect with us and meet us exactly where we are at. And still, perhaps we feel more connected when they tell us what we want to hear. Or, I'm sorry, we feel more connected when they tell us what we need to hear, not what we want to hear. It's not performative, it's not transactional, it's not fake, it's not hollow. And I think the other part of that we need to be cognizant of is that there are many times in life where we connect to people who seem sugary, sparkly, sweet on the outside and say that they are all about love and all about the energy, and we can feel somewhere that we are not. We can feel that they are not, right? There's nothing to connect to. And if you have that sensation, then the feeling of the heart has not been pinged. You can know in your body that the truth for you hasn't been activated. So the exercise for this practice in your life is to really look at, what can I let go of? What version of myself, what layer, what filter, what protection mechanism is active in me, and how am I not showing up all the way? And simultaneously, where does my joy come from? What part of being fully me lights me up all the way? And where are the two kind of incongruent? Where is the sweet spot in the middle? Where is the key? Where is the release of my energy so that I can catch a vibe? And when I said the fastest funnel is energy, and one of the quotes that I have on my social medias is, funnels are just wormholes for the willing. Because I love business strategy, and I love magic and energy, and I love all of how business works together. I do not hate the game at all. I love playing it. So I'm not limited by anything, actually. And when I am funneling my energy, if I have a desire to serve clients, what feels so good in my body is to serve clients and get paid and receive money for me showing up in my fullest expression and my truest gifts. I feel like that heals my nervous system. It heals my inner child. It heals the parts of me that said, unless I act a certain way, it's not going to work. The comprehension from understanding myself strategically as a leader in my business gives me that peace to open up and expand more. I'm not in denial. I'm not, telling myself that I have to do it a certain way. I'm equipping myself to do it my way. And that is the magic key. That is the secret sauce. So the way that the universe funnels that energy around you, the way that you quantum leap, the way that you go down the wormhole of the willing, of you being the willing, is that catching a vibe and knowing the vibe and working on your energy shows reality who you are. That's the mirror. And when reality knows who you are, it knows exactly what to bring you. It knows exactly what to give you. And one of the biggest aspects that people get hung up on, that is the make or break here, is the cutting away, the borders, the boundaries, the saying no. No. Were you allowed to say no as a child? Not to everything. We had to follow rules. Right? We don't get to be led by our emotional impulses. We don't get to throw tantrums as adults, feeling into our fullest expression of our higher intelligence. That's actually not very safe, is it? And so these times, these moments that we go through in life that teach us how to know what order is, that cause us pain when we aren't in a position in our lives yet to have the awareness that teaches us how to use it, that teaches us how it's good, that teaches us the structure. When we get to the point where we can do it differently, this is how it all moves together. This is how it all dances together. So I want to invite you to make a list of the things that you are ready to let go of in order to be fully expressed. And I also want you to take that magic avatar practice and then move it into a deeper awareness of what would you be in your business if you were just doing and being and living as the vibe, serving in the way that you are afraid to serve or afraid that it won't work. And I'd love to hear what that is for you. If you are catching this after the live workshop, feel free to connect with me, reach out to me, share with me what you have learned. I have some beautiful sessions and programs that you can join to take all of this work to the next level, including Business Alignment Academy, the Soul Compass session, and the Guild, which is my membership community where you get fully seen in your magic and learn how to seed your business foundations, define what your magic is, and connect into how to be that in life, how to live as that. So start a commitment. Start a commitment today to living as magic and going a bit deeper into that heart space to define what that means for you so that you have emotion, an energy, a remembrance to connect to in your life that will ultimately bring about incredible results in your business. Because magic sells the vibe, okay? Magic sells you the vibe. When you can feel it and live as it, life starts to bring back to you the fullness of that expression, and it knows who you are and it knows how to serve you. Can't wait to see you back here next time. Bye.